She waited alone with her bags beside the empty road, moonlight spilling over the dust like silver regret. Her fingers curled tight around the straps as if letting go would mean disappearing completely. And when the cowboy's truck approached, she didn't wave or shout. She simply looked up with eyes that carried exhaustion, hope, and a fragile courage that had survived too much. And when he slowed, against every instinct he'd trained himself to obey, she stepped closer and whispered, "Please, don't leave me." And the words slid straight into his chest like a memory he'd tried to bury, because no one had ever asked him to stay before. They had only accused him of leaving, and he saw in her something achingly familiar. A heart that had loved deeply and been abandoned for it, and he should have driven on, should have chosen the lonely freedom he knew so well. But instead he opened the door and told her to get in, his voice rough as if speaking might break him. And as she climbed into the passenger seat, their hands brushed for half a second. A simple touch that sent a quiet shock through them both, the kind that doesn't fade quickly, and the road unfolded ahead of them under the stars while silence wrapped them gently, not awkward, not empty, but full of unspoken understanding. And eventually she spoke, telling him how she'd waited for someone who promised forever, how she believed love was enough, how she stood at that same spot all day hoping he'd return. And the cowboy listened without judgment, because he knew what it meant to run from something real, to choose fear over connection. And when they reached the ranch he offered her a room, then hesitated, then added softly that she could stay as long as she needed. And she looked at him like no one ever had, not with gratitude alone but with something warmer, something that said you're safe. And that night the house felt different, alive, as if love had quietly slipped in without asking permission. And sleep came in fragments, because every thought he had circled back to her, to the way she smiled through pain, to the way her presence filled spaces he didn't know were empty. And in the morning she stood in the kitchen sunlight brushing her hair, humming softly, wearing one of his old shirts because hers were still folded in those tired bags. And the sight hit him harder than any loneliness ever had, because it wasn't desire alone, it was belonging. And days passed and they learned each other slowly, carefully, like two people afraid of breaking something precious, sharing stories late at night, laughing at small things, sitting close without touching until one evening their hands met again, and this time neither pulled away. And when he kissed her it wasn't rushed or hungry, it was gentle, reverent, like he was promising her silently that he wouldn't leave. And she cried into his chest, not from sadness but relief, because love had finally found her when she'd almost given up. And the cowboy realized that the woman he stopped for had changed him forever, not by asking him to save her, but by trusting him enough to stay. And if this story stirred your heart, if you believe in love that arrives quietly and heals deeply, then stay with us. Subscribe to the channel, because more stories like this are waiting, and the next one might feel like it was written just for you.